They asked me, "Why do you always say that imagination is more important than knowledge?" Because knowledge is limited. It is what is. Imagination, that is what could be. It breaks walls. It builds bridges. It takes you where facts cannot go. And in a world obsessed with answers, I was always in love with questions. I lived in equations, but I dreamed in colors. My theories were born not in textbooks, but in thought experiments. Closing my eyes, I would ride on a beam of light, chase time, bend space. What made it possible? Not what I knew, but what I imagined. Knowledge is like the lamp on your desk, bright, focused, confined, but imagination is like the night sky, infinite, mysterious, full of stars not yet discovered. And every great idea begins as a question that feels impossible until someone dares to imagine it. When I said imagination is more important than knowledge, people laughed. They thought I was dismissing science. But no, I was honoring its birth, because science itself is an act of imagination. A guess, a dream, a bold what if. The laws of physics existed before we found them. What brought them to light? Curiosity, and the courage to follow wonder instead of rules. This is the spirit of imagination and the soul of discovery. Knowledge can make a machine, but only imagination can make a mind. A machine follows instructions. A mind creates paths where none exist. One repeats, the other invents. In school, they asked for answers. I gave them questions. They wanted certainty. But I brought doubt, beautiful, productive doubt, because every truth begins with a refusal to accept the obvious. Knowledge gives you tools, but imagination gives you direction. A map is useful, but it is the dream of a new land that pushes the ship forward. No explorer ever found new worlds by reading a manual. Look at the atom. Invisible, powerful, mysterious. Its structure was not discovered by routine. It was imagined, modeled, visualized in the mind's eye. That is the secret. Before it is proven, it must be dreamed. In science, we often pretend we know more than we do. But the truth is, mystery still rules the universe, and only imagination is brave enough to enter it. To say, what if gravity is curved? Or, what if time is not constant? Imagination is not fantasy. It is the seed of vision. It sees what knowledge cannot yet measure. It senses patterns before they become data. And sometimes it sees what logic fears to admit. The child who asks why 1,000 times, that is imagination at work. We must not silence that voice, for that voice becomes the next generation of thinkers, rebels, builders. A future is made by those who refuse to stop imagining. There is danger in worshipping knowledge alone, because without imagination, knowledge becomes dogma. It no longer explores, it obeys, and obedience does not build new worlds. They once told me my ideas were nonsense. That space could not bend, that time could not slow. But I had already seen it, not in a lab, but in my mind. Imagination gave me the courage to wait for the evidence. Think of music. It is not made of facts, it is made of feeling, of form, of flow. Yet it is deeply structured, mathematical even. That is imagination, structure and freedom dancing together. I was not the smartest student, but I was relentless in thought. Not because I wanted to win, but because I wanted to see. Imagination gave me sight in the dark. When war came, knowledge built weapons. But only imagination could build peace. Only those who could imagine a better world dared to speak of it, and only those who dreamed of unity worked for it. They ask, what is the value of imagination in a practical world? And I say, everything begins with it. Every invention, every solution, every hope. Imagination is the mother of reality. I often sat in silence, letting thoughts wander. Those moments gave me more than any lecture. To imagine is to listen, not to noise, but to possibility. And in that silence I found stars. Do not fear being different. Do not fear being called a dreamer. Those who imagined the impossible changed the world, and those who mocked them disappeared in the footnotes of history. So yes, I still say it. Imagination is more important than knowledge, because imagination shapes what knowledge will become, because imagination creates futures, and because in the end, it is not what we know, but what we dare to dream that defines us.